Ever since Outback and I made that dinosaur deck a few weeks back, it really got me thinking. If we can just pull dinosaurs out of the ashes and make them look somewhat decent, what else is possible? It turns out quite a bit. Last week, I reapproached the engine and made the worm deck into a somewhat competitive rogue strategy, and clearly a lot of people thought that because I don't know if you guys knew this, but people were buying out Warm Worm. Warm Worm got bought out. I never thought I would hear that sentence out loud, but I mean, today's the day, baby. So as I continue my journey of inserting this engine into every single deck I have ever played, it is time to make the Beastie Boys rise up from the grave and let me draw 2 cards, because today we are playing Moja Cat. Moja Cat is a deck that I have been dreaming about doing a curse tech about, but that was a little complicated when Carpath is over here winning tournaments with it. There's no point in showing off Moja when you all know what Moja is. Like, I love that Edison's in a state where that's possible, but it just didn't make sense for me to show off the list until I figured out something truly heinous and incredibly spicy, and today is that day. This deck may or may not be better than Carpath's deck. I don't know if it's true, but I've said it, so let's just leave it there. And why don't you guys decide? You watch the video, you see the deck, and you can come to your own conclusions about it, and that'll be great. That'll be good. But my deck has a little bit of an edge over Carpath's deck because it abuses a card that is known for being bad and never coming up, and in this deck, it is the best card, Green Baboon, Defender of the Forest. Here is the deck list. I'm calling it right now Beasts from Beyond the Grave, because the idea is you use a lot of beasts, you kill them, and then you bring them back and try to get value out of them. I mean, it's a pretty good name. So the last 2 weeks, we've looked at the combos first, and then I break down the deck list. And that seemed to be working well before, so let's do that. The first combo is very similar to the Warm Worm Baby Ceresaurus combo, where you activate Limit Reverse and Magic Planter, but in this situation, you are swapping those out for Moja and Rescue Cat. If you activate Limit Reverse on a Moja, bring it back, use King of the Beasts effect to tribute the Moja and summon the King of the Beasts. Now you have a continuous trap left over on your side of the field, so you can activate Magic Planter and draw 2 cards. You can do the same thing with Rescue Cat, and Rescue Cat tributes itself, leaving the continuous trap again, and you can draw 2 cards as well. But things got really spicy when I was looking through my bulk and I pulled out Green Baboon, and I was like, you know, I've been playing a lot of decks that destroy cards. Maybe there's something we can do with this guy, and it turns out there is a lot we can do with this guy. First of all, on a basic level, if you activate Limit Reverse on any beast monster, and then on your turn change it to defense, well, you can summon Green Baboon from the graveyard because a beast monster was destroyed. But the craziest thing this deck can do with Green Baboon is when your opponent tries to remove your revival traps. If you have any beast monsters in your graveyard to revive, well then, your opponent will target your card, you'll summon back a beast monster, and then that beast monster will be destroyed. Then you can summon back the Green Baboon, and your opponent's removal was just Monster Reborn for you. And as you will see when playing this deck, these sort of revivals are sprinkled all throughout, and you will be using Green Baboon even more than King of the Beasts, which is such a cool feeling. My beast from beyond the grave deck list. So we are down to only 2 Moja and 2 King of the Beasts. I decided to take out the Beast Striker. Hamster is just better Beast Striker. It can summon a Moja out of the deck, but it can also summon a Raikou. And Raikou is really good. Raikou is especially funny in this deck in particular because you can flip it, target itself, mill 3 cards, and summon Green Baboon from the graveyard. Normally, this is probably not a good play, but if you have an Avarice in hand, or maybe you're trying to go for lethal, it could come up. Green Baboon is the heart and soul of this deck. You will mill it, and it will come back from your graveyard like 5 times because you are destroying so many beasts in this deck. It is honestly better than King of the Beasts, primarily because it is A, easier to summon, and B, it has 100 more attack. So it can attack over Stardust. Rescue Cat is an insane card in every deck, but especially in a Moja Cat deck because you can summon out Mojas from the deck and then tribute them to summon the King of the Beasts. But here is what makes this deck's Cat plays even crazier. Cat destroys the beast monsters in the end phase. Therefore, if you have the Green Baboon, you can summon it back in the end phase when the Raikou gets destroyed, or even either of these air villains. If you go for the double hand rip and don't have a way to convert, well, you can still get a 2600 attack monster out from the graveyard because they are destroyed. Next, you have the Cat package of Monk and Sangan and these sorts of cards. They're just in every Synchro Cat deck. But you know what is not? Is Magic Planter. We are down to only 2 Magic Planter, but that is probably good enough. A lot of the times, these will just be Pot of Greed when you draw them. Foolish is one of my favorite cards in this deck. Not only can it send any of these freaks to the graveyard, but importantly, it can send Rescue Cat, and if you have a Limit Reverse set, well, you have just searched your deck for Rescue Cat. I also love Trunade in this deck. If you activate Giant Trunade, chain a Revival Trap on a beast, well then you can return the Revival Trap to your hand. The beast will get destroyed, and you can summon Green Baboon, Defender of the Forest. This means that Giant Trunade also can just be Monster Reborn at the same time. We are on to Fiendish Chain because this deck loses so incredibly hard to Caius, the Shadow Monarch. If you have a Raikou or a Hamster set, you can Fiendish Chain the Caius, maybe get some value out of the chain on your next turn by sending it with Planter, and then flip over your monster that you are so happy is not banished. Graceful Revival is so cool in this deck because not only can it revive the Moja in order to get back the King of the Beasts, but Graceful Revival can also bring back Raikou, which when it's destroyed can get back the Green Baboon. This is sort of a connection piece to bring back either side of your engine, especially when your opponent is targeting one of these cards for destruction. The coolest part about this deck may be the side deck. Imperial Iron Wall is broken and you have no cards that banish in your entire deck, so you can just put this in. But the craziest card in this side deck has got to be Consecrated Light. Not only does this deck already play 1-for-1, so you can summon it out of the deck, but if you ever mill this card with your Raikous, Graceful Revival can bring it back. Limit Reverse can bring it back. So many times, if your opponent outs your Consecrated Light, they can start playing. But in this deck, they have to out it like 5 times. This deck is so cool. I'm so excited to show it off. Let's get into the duels. So I only played like 3 games with the deck, and every single game I played was incredibly cool. So here is just a rated match on the Dueling Book rated ladder. Our opening hand looks very cool. We're just going to set this hamster and pass. My opponent is going to normal summon Neospatian Grand Mole, bounce our hamster, pass their turn. After setting to back row, we draw a Limit Reverse. We're going to normal summon a Card Trooper, mill 3 cards, and then we go to the battle phase and attack for 1900. We're then going to set a back row and pass our turn. My opponent normal summons a Gilman, attacks us for 1300, and we will get to draw 1 card. And then we draw a rescue cat. So now we're just going to set a hamster, set a back row, and pass. They attack into our hamster. They will take 100 damage, and we can summon out a Raikou from the deck. They set a couple more back row and pass their turn. We draw another King of the Beast. We're going to activate Limit Reverse on the Card Trooper, and then we are going to activate this Heavy Storm. But unfortunately, they are playing the Starlight Road. I was reading Solemn, but it was Starlight Road. So we are going to mill 3 cards with the Card Trooper. Thankfully, we did mill a Green Baboon, which is pretty good. We're going to use Magic Planter to send the Card Trooper and draw 3 cards. We're then going to normal summon a Rescue Cat, use its effect to get out a Moja and an Airbellum. We're then going to tribute the Moja to special summon a King of the Beasts from our hand. And my opponent is going to activate Torrential Tribute. This is pretty good value. However, we have the Green Baboon in the graveyard, so we can pay 1,000 to summon it back. My opponent is then going to activate Bottomless Trap Hole, and now we can activate Pot of Avarice to shuffle all these cards back into the deck. We draw 2 cards, set a back row, and then pass our turn. Quite a crazy turn, but we are up on cards, so I am feeling pretty good. They set a back row and pass. I'm going to normal summon a Sandgan, activate Limit Reverse on the Card Trooper, mill 3 cards with the Card Trooper. Unfortunately, we don't hit any monsters at all. We're then going to attack for 1,000 and 1,900. We set another back row and pass our turn. My opponent summons the Grand Mole, and I decide to activate Torrential Tribute. So we draw a card, and then we can search with the Sandgan, so we just pick up another Raikou. We draw a Fiendish Chain for turn. We're going to normal summon a Rescue Cat, use its effect to get out an Airbellum and a Moja. We tribute the Moja to get the King of the Beasts, and they are going to bottomless that card. We can then activate Pot of Avarice, shuffling all these monsters back into the deck. We draw into a Green Baboon, which is not too bad. We're then going to activate Call of the Haunted on the Rescue Cat, and then we're going to use that to get out an Airbellum and another Moja. We're going to use that Moja to get out a King of the Beasts, go into the battle phase, and attack our opponent for game. And the reason I did that is because in the end phase, one of those Airbellums, or I think both of the Airbellums would die. However, we have the Green Baboon in our hand, so we could potentially rip 2, and then once they're destroyed, summon the Green Baboon. Game number 2 with the Beast deck. Our opening hand looks pretty good, but we are going second. My opponent sets a card, gets a Stratos, normal summons the Stratos, and then adds an Alias and passes their turn. I really wish they had a Trap Dust Shoot, but they do not, so we're just going to activate this Charge of the Light Brigade, mill 3 cards, including a Green Baboon, which is not too bad. We get a Raikou to our hand. We set that Raikou, set a back row, and another back row, and pass our turn. They're going to summon an Alias. They attack into the Raikou. We will target the... I believe that... No, we target the back row. It was a Deep Prison. I guess that's fine. We mill a couple of cards and we'll take this 1,800 damage. We're going to MST one of the back row and then activate Call of the Haunted on the Rescue Cat. We draw a 1-for-1, which is not very good at all. We're then going to use the Rescue Cat to summon out 2 Airbellums from the deck. We activate Brain Control, and they are on Gem Sparks. I don't know why. I just thought this was a different hero deck, but yeah, that played super hard into Gem Spark, and that is incredibly bad for me. We are then going to activate Magic Planter to draw 2 cards, and then we are just going to normal summon this guy and go into Ancient Fairy. I don't know why. I think I have Urnite. I don't own Urnite in person, so I just always forget that that is a 7 you can go into. But in every situation, Urnite is so much better. We set a back row and pass our turn. They're going to activate Future Fusion. They send a couple of cards to the graveyard, set 2 back row and pass. We draw Imperial Iron Wall. We're going to set that, switch this card to defense and pass, but they do have the Compulse. They're then going to normal summon a Honest, attack us for 1,100 damage. They're then going to use the Honest to bounce it back to their hand, and then we draw a Heavy Storm. We are going to activate Limit Reverse on the Rescue Cat. We're going to use the Rescue Cat to get out a Moja and a Raikou from the deck. And then we are going to activate this giant Trunade, and my opponent is going to activate Hero Blast. So because this happens in the middle of the chain, I don't think I'll be able to activate the Green Baboon when one of my beasts is destroyed. If they had just used Hero Blast, I could have, but because of this Trunade, I don't think that's how it works. So our Raikou will die, but we can set a couple of back row, and in the end phase, the Green Baboon can come back by the destruction of the Moja. We then pass our turn. They're going to activate Future Fusion yet again, sending these monsters out of their deck. They're going to normal summon an Alias and Honest over the Green Baboon. We are actually getting very low on life points. We're then going to set a hamster and pass our turn. My opponent attacks into the hamster, and we can get out a Raikou from the deck face down. We draw a Moja, which is not too bad, but we really need a King of the Beasts. We do not have access to that card yet. Hopefully we can get one now. We're going to flip the Raikou, targeting the Alias. Unfortunately, they have another Gem Spark, which is just absolutely disastrous. We mill 3 cards. We cannot mill a King of the Beasts. We can then activate Heavy Storm, set a back row, and attack our opponent for 200 damage. And then we just pass our turn. I was dead anyway, because they could just attack over the Raikou for game. All right, the all-important game number 3 with the Beast deck. So I think that last game I just misplayed quite a bit with that Urnite and a couple of other things. We activate Charge again. We get a Raikou to our hand. We did mill the Green Baboon, which is really great. So we're going to set a couple of cards and pass our turn. They activate MST, and is that really MST, or is it just Monster Reborn? We can activate that on any beast monster. The beast will get destroyed, and then we can bring back the Green Baboon, paying 1,000 life points. They're going to summon the Grand Mole. This will bounce that card back to our hand, go to main phase 2, and activate Future Fusion, send a couple of monsters, and then pass their turn. We're going to flip up the Raikou, target the Future Fusion. We only mill 1 monster, and so we have to just attack for 200, set a couple of back row, and pass our turn. My opponent normal summons an Honest. They will easily clear our Raikou. They set a back row, bounce the Honest, and we will Dust Tornado the back row in the end phase. We draw a Giant Trunade, which is not great, but we can activate this Graceful Revival on the Raikou and at least try to draw into something. Unfortunately, the Baboon misses timing in that scenario, but we did draw into an Air Balloon, so we could normal summon it, attack our opponent for 1,600, and discard a card from their hand. We're going to set a back row and pass our turn. They're going to activate Reinforcement of the Army to get a Stratos. They're going to normal summon the Stratos, add an Alias, and then attack over our monster. These bricks in our hand are very frustrating, but there's nothing we can do about it. And then we are going to draw a Magic Planter, which is very interesting. We can activate Giant Trunade and chain this Limit Reverse. This will target any beast, and then it will get destroyed, and we can summon this Green Baboon from our hand. At least we can clear the Stratos, but then we are going to activate this Pot of Avarice. We shuffle all these cards back and draw 2. A Brain Control and a Raikou. We're just going to attack over this Stratos, set a Raikou and a Limit Reverse, and pass our turn. My opponent normal summons an Alias, and they do have the Honest, which is not very good. We are getting low yet again. They then set 3 back row and pass their turn. We flip up this Raikou, targeting the Alias, and they decided to compulse their own monster. We then mill 3 cards, activate Limit Reverse, and then we will use this card to mill 3 more. We mill a Green Baboon, and then we'll use the Magic Planter in order to draw 3. And unfortunately, the 3 aren't that great, but we do have this Air Bellum, but they have the Deep Prison. So all we can do is attack for 200, and we are up a ton of cards. They're going to summon the Alias, and then they will attack us for 1,700, set another back row, and pass their turn. We draw an Imperial Iron Wall. I'm thinking about going for this Monk Cat play, but I decide to wait for the Iron Wall. We summon out the Raikou from the deck. They attack it with the Honest, and we decided to pop the Alias. I don't know if I should have popped the Alias, because I'm thinking about Monk Catting, but maybe we try to Brain Control the Alias. It's really a tough decision. I don't know. What would you guys have done in this situation? They're going to bounce the Honest and then pass their turn. We draw another Raikou, which is not very good at all, but we can activate Limit Reverse on the Moja, use the Moja to special summon the King of the Beasts. We go to the battle phase and attack, and they have Deep Prison. I have Imperial Iron Wall, but they have Solemn Judgment. Absolutely devastating. I really think we would be in a good spot if that did not happen to us, but now all we can do is just set this Monk and pass our turn. They're going to normal summon the Honest. This will attack into the Monk. They will take some damage, and they leave it on the field. We try to activate Monk, but we actually don't have the targets in the deck, so our opponent lets us take it back. And I'm thinking for a moment, and if we had activated Brain Control to steal that monster, normal summoned the Raikou, and gone for it, we would have had exact lethal. Like, exact lethal. I don't know what I was thinking. This was a free win. Just brain control, switch to attack, normal summon. But as you can tell, this deck is very powerful. I'm just absolutely throwing. And the top decked Alias is so bad for me. We have to Solemn it, and then they try to Gem Spark, but they can't Gem Spark. And then they're going to attack our Raikou, and we target the monster and mill 3 cards. We did not draw anything good, and we draw this Rescue Cat, which we can't do anything with. And now we have 3 cards left in deck. We get the Moja, but we don't have any King of the Beast. There's 1 King of the Beast in the deck, and this is just not even close to lethal. Any monster in attack position is a danger for me, and now we are just effectively out of gas. You can see this deck grinds. Like, we were up on cards so many times, and we just still managed to throw. But, yeah, quite an interesting match. It is a good day to have purchased King of the Beasts in 2020. For $1 each. That was a good thing I did. Let's talk about the pros and cons. The pros. Number 1, you are already playing a good deck. Synchro Cat, while not great, is good and has insane power plays. Cat and Monk are limited for a reason, and you can abuse all the craziness they can do more often than a different cat deck because you play 3 Limit Reverse. Number 2, the Moja engine and the Baboon engine give you a big monster to summon without going into a synchro summon. You can use your Raikous to pick off the back row and then rely on your big monsters to do cleanup duty. Number 3, you have such an interesting grind game. I mean, you basically play 5 Pot of Greeds, so you can grind pretty well. Number 4, you get to use the graveyard as a second hand. I mean, cards that you mill, you can get value out of them. That's kind of cool. And number 5, you get to play the most broken side deck in the format. And the cons. The number 1 con of this deck is Caius the Shadow Monarch. When your opponent Caiuses your hamster, well, now your Pot of Avarice are bricks and your deck does not function. I mean, all hamster decks struggle to Caius, but the fact you are playing less defensive spell traps means you struggle even harder. Number 2, going second. You play a bunch of flip monsters. You don't want to go second, and when you do, it is probably twice as hard to win the game. Number 3, you play a lot of bricks. You need to convert cards to plus. Sometimes you don't get both halves of the conversion. And number 4, ironically, your draws and your mills will screw you a lot of the time. I cannot even explain how many times I lose the game because I draw the 1 Airbellum that I needed in the deck. And 5, Royal Oppression. But overall, I mean, the deck is good. You can just see how a deck sort of exists. You can see its potential from its interactions. And the fact that this deck can keep up and outgrind the meta. I mean, Edison has become so optimized over the past couple of years. So in order to compete, the deck needs to have some inherent sort of grind, synergy, outvalue system. And this deck has honestly got it. It's got something there. The Baboon is a star card that keeps coming back and keeps letting you get value over and over again. And at this point in the format's development, that is really what you need. And I am so excited to see, like, I don't know, if this deck can get even more optimized. I'm going to put this deck in the competitive tier of the cursed tech tier list. I mean, it is better than dinosaurs. It's better than worms. I can't believe I have to say it. It is better than Worm Mill. And to be honest, Worm Mill's kind of good. So that's more points for the Moja Beast deck. You guys got to be worried about Mill. I'm scared of that deck. I don't want it to be good, but secretly I really want it to be good. So let's just leave that there. I don't know what has been happening on the channel, but is this like the golden age of cursed tech? 3 competitive decks in a row? 3 in a row. I mean, I've either come so far or fallen so far from grace. I'm just so sorry to all the people that want to see me just drop Montage Dragon or play some silly burn FTK, because I'm like over here like playing Rykos, playing Caius. What's that about? That's not what Cursed Tech is about, but it kind of is, because these decks are so cursed and still kind of good. I have no idea what this crazy engine is going to do next week. Maybe it'll make Berserk Dragon good finally. Probably not. Who knows? At this point, I am not going to doubt the engine, because it has led me to too much happiness and joy. And yeah, I've been having a lot of fun making these, and hopefully I can come up with some more crazy stuff in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.